Hello and welcome to Rotted Reviews, and today is going to be a bit of a special day, and yet somehow not. You see, it's the first day that I'm going to be tackling the Rotted Requesters. I went ahead and made a very limited tier on my Patreon for people that could sign up and make a monthly movie review request, and holy God, did that tier fill up quick. Because of the nature of this and how many videos I'm able to put out a month, and also wanting to do my own content, I only made 5 spots available. I don't know if I'll open up any more in the future, but time will tell. If you're interested in the Patreon, there are other tiers available, including chats, watch parties, so on and so forth. Please check it out if you'd like to, or if you'd like to support the channel. So, moving on. Today, the first Rotted request is brought to us by Patron Caleb, and I am taking a look at the 1989 movie Sangre. And I'm very, very grateful to Caleb for recommending this one. This is a movie that I had not seen before. Everybody has their blind spots. I knew very well of it, but I had never actually watched it. So I was glad to get this opportunity. I honestly figured that the requesters would be a little bit more sadistic to me, but this was a delight. And it didn't really start out that way. This movie centers around the character of Phoenix, who, the movie kind of takes place within 2 eras of his life, both when he was a very young boy and also when he's a young man. And as a young boy, he was a performer in the circus, and his family belonged to the circus, and so on and so forth. And an odd confluence of events and tragedies happened in his young life that resulted in him being let's just say a bit of a maladjusted adult. And we flash forward to him being an adult somewhat, as he is kept in a care facility is probably about the best way that I can put it, but he is very much acting and being treated like a bird of prey. He's perched on a large branch. He's opting to eat raw fish whole as opposed to a hot meal, things like that. And that goes a long way towards the ultimate theme of this film, which is the traumas that are inflicted upon us as children and how they carry over into our adult selves. But the story continues on as Phoenix escapes from this facility and then goes on a quest and finds his mother, and as she has become armless in the climactic scene of when he was a young child. I'm not really spoiling anything there. This is going to be ultimately spoiler-free as far as any grand reveals, anything towards the end of the film, anything along those lines. But yeah, it's just part of the plot. In that tragedy when he was a young child that scarred him as an adult, she lost her arms. And he becomes her arms. That's pretty much the only reason that I revealed that, is because it's just such a central plot point. He becomes her arms and tries to pick the mantle of the circus and the performing acts back up alongside her as he's her arms. And unfortunately, as things start challenging them and challenging him, murderous events start taking place, and that's pretty much all I'll really cover in terms of plot details. There were several things that really struck me about this movie, and I mentioned that it didn't really start out as a grand adventure or anything that I really cared for. I try to keep an open mind, and just because somebody requests something doesn't mean I'm inherently going to like it. We all have differing opinions and so on and so forth. But there were several things that I kind of noted about this. First of all, this was made in 1989, and it didn't feel at all like a movie made in 1989. It felt more like a movie made in 1974, 75. This movie was kind of an amalgam of Italian and Spanish influences, as it was set in Mexico and also written and directed by Alejandro Jodorowsky, as well as written by Roberto Leone and Claudio Argento. And when this movie started out, I have to admit that it was a little bit too bizarre for my tastes. It felt like just some sort of odd fever dream set in the circus, and honestly, clowns are kind of one of my things that and for me, I mean, it's not the evil clowns with the sharp teeth and the fangs and so forth. It's just clowns. Those are the ones that get me, and those were aplenty in this movie. But there were also just the odd, visual elements, the odd tone, just bizarre imagery, it felt very much like kind of a fever dream. And it's not that I hated it, I just was having a little bit of trouble getting on board for it. It kind of felt very jarring. And here's the odd thing, is I don't remember any particular moment in this movie in which my opinion changed. At all. There's not a singular event where all of a sudden I sat down and I realized, hey, okay, I see where they're going with this. I'm on board now. Okay, rough start, but here we go. There was nothing along those lines. But there was a moment at the end when all of a sudden I realized that I loved this movie and I thought that it was beautiful. My mind changed without me noticing it. It was the most bizarre thing ever, but I was just enraptured. I was on board with these characters as Phoenix was going through what he was going through, and he was revealing what had been going on as the movie progressed, which honestly I had figured a lot of that, but not all the fine details of it. But as things are going on and he's being guided, and finally that last line that he kind of speaks to himself in a moment of clarity and self-revelation broke my heart, and it was just a beautiful experience. I have no idea when my attitude towards this movie changed. I honestly don't think that it lasted too long, that kind of odd, jarring feeling. At some point, I just kind of accepted that this is what it is. Let's go for the ride. But I still wasn't quite expecting to be captured by this movie as much as I was. Kind of following Phoenix in a weird kind of odd fatalistic way was 𝗘𝗾𝗄. She was a young girl in the circus during his young man segments, and then as an adult, she's now an adult, and she kind of catches back up with him in a very bizarre sort of way. And the 𝗘𝗾𝗄 character was just beautiful. She's a deaf mute, and the physical performances of her, both from the young actress and from Sabrina Dennison, who played her as an adult, the physical performances, and especially the facial performances to let this character come through so well was heartbreaking. And with the costuming and the performance and everything about it was one of those things that met up with Phoenix's character towards the end was just one of the best things ever. I was absolutely completely taken in by the costuming, especially. It was to the point where, in all honesty, I kind of want to cosplay as her. I'm not gonna lie, I think that would be a lot of fun, her last outfit in the film. But that's neither here nor there. At this point, I'm just gonna kind of wrap up a little bit here by saying that I absolutely fully recommend this movie. Blanket recommendation for anybody. If you don't like subtitles, good news. It's in English. If you don't like foreign films, I would still recommend it. I mean, this is honestly one that is so beautiful, it's worth giving a shot to. So thank you, Caleb, for recommending this movie and finally getting me to watch it. Again, I don't know why it took me this long, but here we are, and I'm so grateful that I finally did. And thank you to all of you out there for watching this video and for clicking like and subscribe, right? Right? But I think that should about wrap this up. I look forward to seeing you on my next video. Remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.